What's up, folks? So this is a topic that I've seen pop up over the past 24 hours. It's not really anything groundbreaking, I actually think it's to be expected, but I did want to make this video primarily for people that are new to the Nintendo environment. Because I know a lot of you have just decided to jump in because you thought this was going to be like a strong handheld game console that you'll be able to play all the high-end games that you used to play on your other consoles before. And obviously one of the most popular genres in all of gaming are the sports titles, with FIFA, or FC as it's known now, and Madden more or less leading the charge on those. Although technically, I think College Football 25 sold better than Madden 25, but I could be wrong about that. Either way, the point is a lot of you are going to be buying your Nintendo Switch 2 and you're going to be like, oh, I want to make sure I can play these two franchises that I love portably. Like you're a hardcore Madden fan, you've bought the same game every single year, every time they do an update. Or you're like a soccer person that likes to make sure they're always getting the latest game and you partake in all of the fun weekly challenges that they give you, Ultimate Team and all that stuff. And what's going to happen is you're going to go online and you're going to look up reviews for these games and you're going to ask people for their advice. And because most of them are going to be Nintendo fans replying to you, you're not really going to get the best answer. And that's mostly because the people that are going to answer your question are either going to have never played these games, and that's obviously because they're exclusively Nintendo people, or they're going to feel the need to defend the case for Nintendo in hopes that this doesn't end up leading to any form of negativity about the console. Or perhaps even worse, they're going to speak down at you for assuming that this thing would be a good experience. Like they're gonna laugh at you and be like, what did you expect? The device that supports up to 120 frames per second was gonna run this game well? Did you think this $500 Mario Kart machine was anything more than just a Mario Kart machine? And they're going to try to convince you that you're in the wrong for having the wrong expectations about this device and what it's going to offer. And again, I'm speaking directly at this new Nintendo owner who's never had a Nintendo product before and thought this was going to be the high-end gaming device. You need to understand that if you're going to be part of the Nintendo environment, this is what you should expect. And I say this as somebody that used to buy FIFA every single year, used to buy Madden every single year, and used to buy NHL every single year. Right around the early 2000s, they stopped taking Nintendo consoles seriously at all. And I mean, why would they? They could put out the best, most high-end soccer simulation game imaginable, and then Mario Strikers will outsell it. So, like, it makes sense that they don't take it that seriously. But the trick is, at the start and launch of pretty much every single Nintendo console, EA comes out and they make a very clear statement that they are going to support Nintendo for realsies this time. They of course do this with their fingers crossed behind their back while laughing and porting over the last year version of the last gen console, and they'll trick a few Nintendo fans into buying it, most of them being kids, while everybody else is like, yeah, this is dumb, I'm gonna go buy this on my Xbox or PlayStation. And then what happens is they see the sales are poor on the Nintendo consoles, so they give it even less attention, basically giving a legacy version every year, which is just updating the rosters, or just withdrawing older support altogether. Because for them, it's not worth the investment. Because again, even if they were to put their best work on this thing, the reality is most people on a Nintendo console are not going to be buying these titles. Actually, that's not true. They're going to be buying these titles, but they're gonna buy it on their stronger hardware. And it's not only because it's stronger, it's because prior to the cross-platform days, if I wanted to buy Madden and play Madden, would I buy it on the Nintendo console knowing that I'm gonna go online and play against Nintendo fans? What, the 7 of them that know how to hold a football? Well, no, I'm gonna race them in Mario Kart like Miyamoto intended. So even if people were football fans, even if they were Madden fans, even if they were soccer fans, whatever fans they were, they would not buy the Nintendo one because you know that the experience would not be the top-notch high-end experience. Not just from a graphical standpoint, from a community standpoint. You're gonna buy EAFC 26, you wanna buy it and be on par with the people that have it on the best hardware and on the most popular hardware to play that game on, and in this case, I'm pretty sure it's the PlayStation 5. And it's the same thing with Madden. So why would EA as a company waste their time giving you a good version of it on this device? And now you can frown at EA for doing this, but at the end of the day, it's also kind of Nintendo's fault for setting this kind of terrible relationship with third parties over the course of the past 25 years. But even then, that's all besides the point. You, as the person that wants to buy these titles, you should know that if you're getting Madden, you're getting an inferior version of the game. It's not even going to be running at 60 frames per second, it's not even capped or locked at 30 frames per second, it has stutters throughout. And it's the only version of all the platforms that's not going to have cross-platform play. So your whole online experience is gonna be against the other 7 Nintendo fans that also bought Madden. Now, as far as EAFC is concerned, there are fewer people that have actually gotten their hands on this game, but the news is starting to surface. They're starting to question things online. They're asking people, hey, is this really bad or is it just me? And they're getting a lot of hate for asking this question, because the people that are answering them are Nintendo apologists, obviously, so you can't say anything bad about Nintendo. Instead of being like, well, you know, yeah, EA did a poor job with this port, they're telling the people that are complaining you need to curb your expectations. Now, to be fair, you do need to curb your expectations, and that's why I was trying to push to people months ago that they should not buy this thing if they're expecting all the high-end third-party titles to run great on this. But that's why I'm bringing this topic back up again, because some poor dude is out there searching whether or not he should buy FIFA or Madden on the Switch 2, and the Nintendo fans are going to tell him it's great. The people that are playing EAFC 26 at this moment were invited via a closed beta through the Nintendo Switch 2. These are enthusiasts that love EAFC. They're not enthusiast Nintendo fans. Or they're enthusiast Nintendo fans that also have a different console where they used to play their soccer on. They're talking about low frame rates. They're talking about having the legacy version or the last gen version potentially. They are talking about being disappointed. They're saying even when this thing is docked, it's not playing as good as you would expect. And of course it isn't. What would you expect from a 4K 60 frames per second device? Did you think it was going to be able to run 4K 60 frames per second? No, dude, it's a Nintendo console. This is how it works. They do the whole thing where they're like, oh, it's strong enough to run anything, and then like Zelda barely runs on there. Or I guess in this generation, it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm still gonna be really excited when that comes out on the Switch 3 as a launch title, and everybody's like, oh yeah, it's finally good. Now, that being said, there are people that this might be worth it for, but you need to understand what you're getting yourself into. So, for example, I think it was around 2017, 2018, don't remember exactly. I bought FIFA on the Nintendo Switch. Whatever the first FIFA to come onto the Switch was. Now, I'm not really a FIFA online type of person. I'm more of a pick up FIFA and then on a random game night you can start playing it and it's fun enough. You know, I'm like much more about hanging out, playing it, loser gives it up to the next person, do that every few weeks, and that's good enough for me. I watch a lot of soccer. I'm excited for the Premier League to kick off, but aside from that, yeah, I don't really do Ultimate Team. I don't do all the extra stuff with FIFA. And up until like last year, I stopped buying the game altogether. I was just getting it on Game Pass because they would give you the free version, which I think was the year before, and that was good enough for what I needed it for. But yeah, before the whole Game Pass stuff, I had one copy that was on the Switch. It ran terribly, but for me, it was good enough because I'm like, I have a portable version of FIFA that I can play wherever I go. And remember, back then, that was still a big deal, and I was also coming into it knowing that it was inferior. I didn't buy it expecting the high-end PlayStation or Xbox experience, but it was also very clear to everybody before the game came out that it was going to be inferior. Like, nobody was like tricked into it or anything. And that's primarily because when we bought the Nintendo Switch 1, we went into it knowing it was a weaker device. We bought it for the gimmick, which was the handheld gaming experience. And there were no other handhelds at the time that you could compare things to. There were no Steam Decks, there were no handheld Windows PCs, none of that. So in a lot of ways, that genuinely was the best experience you can get on the go. Now, despite the fact that the Switch 2 has been advertised as this mega machine, it's really more of the same situation. Actually, it's arguably even worse because they're charging the same price for this thing as the PS5 right now. And they're really trying to advertise just how powerful and amazing this device is, and they were doing that from before launch. So you would think, hey, the PS5 came out 5 years ago. This device that came out 5 years later, maybe it's able to kind of live up to it when I'm playing these sports titles. But no, it's actually more aligned with the device that came out back in 2013 or 2016 if you want to be generous and put it next to the Pro model. I'm not saying that the Switch 2 is not as strong as the Pro model. I'm saying that realistically speaking, if I'm EA, I'm not putting it as strong as the PS4 Pro model, I'm putting it as strong as the base PS4 Pro model, because why would I waste any time and energy on this knowing that it's not going to sell well on a Nintendo device? But the point is that back when the Switch 1 came out, our expectations were well and truly curbed because we understood we were buying the inferior device. It was 1080p, which is the same as the generation before it with the Wii U, and most importantly, it was cheaper. It was priced fairly. It was actually priced cheaper than the Wii U was when it launched. And it cost $100 cheaper than the PS4 Pro, which came out a year before it. So we knew what we were getting into. But now that it's more obscure, and now that there's so much misinformation out there trying to pump up the Switch 2 more than it actually is, it might be a lot more difficult for new buyers of the Switch 2 to realize what they're getting their hands on. And I think the first hint probably showed up during the Partner Direct, where they saw the games that were coming to the Switch 2, or rather all of the games that were not even announced for the Switch 2. And because of how massive Madden and FIFA are, this is going to be the next big shocker for a lot of new Nintendo fans. And it's also going to clarify the misconceptions of many optimistic Nintendo fans, I suppose. This is not the strong third-party device that you thought was worth the amount of money you put into it. It is the same sad Nintendo device that is going to run all of your first-party titles great. And then you're also going to get some nice third-party titles. Don't get me wrong, WWE 2K25 or 26, whatever the one that just came out, supposedly runs very well, so I assume for the 14 or 15 people that bought that, they're going to be very happy about that. But for the most part, when you're looking for that great performance, you're thinking of the minigames in Welcome Tour that are going to highlight that. Minna the Hollower at 120 frames per second is going to highlight that. Not the sports titles, not Call of Duty if it ever makes its way over there. Some of the free-to-plays might look good too, but for the most part, you're gonna be really taking a risk every time you decide to spend $1 on this thing. So if strong performing third parties are very important to you, I highly recommend grabbing either a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, or a PC and playing them on there. Whatever you do, never take the advice of a Nintendo fan when it comes to sports. And I say that as a Nintendo fan. We are the wrong people to ask about sports video games, because our ideas of sports video games are the Mario Tennis series, Mario Golf series, Mario Striker series, and a lot of us, with looking you dead in the eye and not blinking and not smiling, will tell you that the sports titles peaked at Wii Sports. So yeah, that's our opinion. Don't ask us. Whatever you do, do not waste your time buying the EA titles on the Nintendo Switch 2. Or at the very least, wait for some reviews, because I'm sure they will reflect what I'm saying, and they'll go into much deeper detail about all of this. Anyway, I hope that helps. That's all I got for now. I'll catch you guys on the next one.